I've got a hankering for a candy bar, but which one should I choose? To begin with, let's find out which candy bar is the most popular among candy lovers. 30% of customers opt for Snickers, making it the most popular candy bar. It's followed by Mars at 22%, Bounty at 14%, and Twix at 11%. These are the main rival brands competing for their customers' affection. But how much of a rivalry is there really? In fact, behind all of these brands is the same family, the Mars family. In 2021, their estimated net worth was $141 billion, according to Forbes. The wide range of Mars products doesn't just come down to chocolate candy. The company also owns a variety of household brands, among which are chewing gums like Wrigley, Orbit, and Juicy Fruit, pet foods like Whiskas, Pedigree, Kite Kat, and Royal Canine, and more. Interestingly, the corporation that has been around for over 100 years and made it to the list of the top companies in the world in various fields continues to be a family business. It was founded by Franklin Clarence Mars, whose grandson would be ranked number 30 by Forbes magazine's list of richest Americans. But first things first. In 1883, the year of Karl Marx's death, the future confectioner and businessman Franklin Clarence Mars was born in Hancock, Minnesota. The story of Franklin proves that even those who can't boast a perfect health or privileged background can reach great heights. In early childhood, he suffered from polio, a disease that affects the spinal cord and causes paralysis. Due to that, the boy couldn't walk without crutches. He also couldn't go to school, so he didn't hang out with other kids. Young Franklin spent most of the day in the kitchen by his mother's side, who made candies to sell at the market. Since childhood, he knew he'd be making candy when he grew up. And he was right. Since 12, Mars had been helping his mom around the kitchen. When he was 16, he started making his own candy that he brought to the market with his mother. Franklin knew he could make more than his mother could ever sell, so the young entrepreneur had his heart set on a business of his own. He made his first step towards this dream by offering his services to the owner of the store next to his mother's stand. Customers developed a taste for his candy, so 2 years later, when he was 18, Franklin provided 11 stores with his products. The young man was making enough money to get by, but he dreamed bigger. His potential, however, was constrained by the modest size of his mother's kitchen. He longed for his own business more and more. One day, when delivering a batch of goods to the store, a woman named Ethel caught his attention. Franklin started to talk with her and soon found out she shared his passion for confectionery. A few months later, Ethel said yes to his proposal, and in 1902 the two got married. However, after 8 years of marriage, 3 failed attempts to open up a business, and the birth of their son Forrest, the couple divorced. Ethel took the child and moved out of town. As for Franklin, in 1911 he got married again, to another Ethel. Later that year, Franklin and his new wife started a small enterprise that manufactured and sold candy. The company was registered under the name Morrow Bar. The home kitchen of the Mars family was a workshop and a food stand at the same time. Things were sold right through the window and people would readily buy them. In the early 1920s, the company had a breakthrough. Mars moved to Minneapolis. In 1922, the first candy under the Morrow Bar trademark was made. And in 1923, the Milky Way candy bar won the hearts of customers. There's a legend about how Franklin Mars came up with the Milky Way. Frank once went shopping with his son when little Forrest asked him for some chocolate. At the time, chocolate was sold by weight, which posed some problems. When it was too hot, you couldn't eat anything without getting all messy. As Franklin was wiping chocolate from Forrest's hands and mouth, he thought of selling chocolate in small pieces wrapped in foil. One of the things that contributed to the success of the Milky Way was its creative advertising. It used to be said that Milky Way didn't sink, so a poster was made showing a chubby boy after a shipwreck, floating in the water thanks to his candy bars. Many biographers attribute this idea to Forrest himself. In 1924, the turnover of the company that had suffered losses of $6,000 in just 2 years had reached $700,000. Milky Way became one of the most popular candies in the U.S., which allowed Mars to increase production. It was decided that the new factory would be placed in the suburbs of Chicago. In 1926, the company changed its name to Mars Candy. By the late 1920s, Franklin Mars's chocolate business was up and running, so he could devote his time to his new hobby, breeding racehorses. He bought a number of farms in Pulaski, Tennessee, where he constructed a large estate called a Milky Way Farm. Franklin had 30 barns, a show horse arena, and 3 racing tracks at his disposal. In 1930, the Mars Company launched the production of Snickers bars, named after Franklin's favorite horse. That year, the company would make a profit of $2.5 million in the U.S. In 1934, at the age of 51, Franklin died of heart and kidney failure, but his cause lived on. For a brief time, his in-laws took over his business, but eventually his ambitious son headed the company. Forrest got in the game in 1928 when he started working for his father's company. Word is that the young Mars saw John Davison Rockefeller as his role model. The boy, however, aspired to make more money than Rockefeller, and he was destined to turn Mars into a global corporation. But in the late 1920s, he was living in Franklin's shadow, and a conflict between them was about to erupt. Many believe the misunderstanding between the father and son was caused by their conflicting views on the future of the company. For Franklin, it seemed, it was enough to live a wealthy life, while Forrest dreamed of going global. The son often disapproved of his father's irrational decisions and didn't mind pointing them out. Things were getting tense until finally Forrest moved to England. During one of their fights, Forrest gave his father an ultimatum. Either he was getting a third of the company or he was leaving it. Franklin told him to go, but in exchange he gave him the rights to manufacture Milky Way in Europe and $50,000. After moving to England, Mars stayed in the confectionery business and supposedly even used family recipes to create new products. Soon he set up a small factory in Slough. Back then, Forrest had a staff of just a few people and bought chocolate from other manufacturers. But that was until the company's turnout increased. The first product that brought it fame was the Mars bar. To promote the new product, an original marketing campaign was used. Times were tough and people were reluctant to spend money on chocolate. So Forrest Mars decided it wasn't the candy, but its properties he should be selling. Mars was advertised as a nutritious energy booster made from wholesome ingredients, which made it one of the top sellers in Europe. In 1934, Forrest didn't get to head his late father's business, as the relatives of Mars' widow took the reins. Forrest brought a lawsuit against them, but he lost it. And it wasn't until the mid-1960s that he got his father's company. In 1940, Forrest came back to the U.S., where he founded the M&M Company, producing the well-known chocolates of the same name. There's a legend about it, too. In the late 1930s, Forrest Mars supposedly visited revolutionary Spain and noticed the chocolates given to soldiers. They were coated in sugar, so they didn't melt for a longer time. For an experienced candy maker, one glance was enough to see an opportunity. In the summer, manufacturers couldn't buy as much chocolate due to its properties. Mars contacted a candy manufacturer named Harris and offered to cooperate. They split their responsibilities with Forrest working in the U.S. and Harris in Europe. The production began in 1941. The U.S. Army was the company's biggest customer. When starting the business in the U.S., Mars was afraid there might be problems with the supply of chocolate and sugar, but he managed to find an investor. Bruce Murray, the son of the head of Hershey's. The two M's in M&M stand for the partners' surnames. The famous M&M characters were made in 1954, and back then they were black and white. Later on, they got their colors, and in 1995, Susan Cradle, the creative director of the BBDO New York Advertising Agency, came up with the original characters for the mascots. This is how one of the most popular franchises was made. Today, the chocolates come in different colors and flavors, and they've even got their own encyclopedia. In 1941, the U.S. entered World War II. Forrest Mars was looking for a new niche when he realized it took too much time to cook cereals in the Army. He met Gordon L. Harwell, a Texas businessman who made partially boiled rice for faster cooking. Mars liked the idea, and he agreed to invest in a factory. This is how the world-famous rice brand Uncle Ben's was born. In the middle of the 20th century, Mars found yet another niche in the market: pet food. Forrest realized the harmful effects of feeding cats and dogs human food and scraps that people used to give their pets. He knew that many treated their pets as part of their family, which meant he could make good money on it. Mars got down to business. He made an agreement with meat factories to buy their wastes for a small price. Many were puzzled. Why would a successful businessman who made a name selling candy need to buy wastes? But Mars kept working towards his goal. Forrest Mars's company entered the pet food market in 1935. Later, he bought Chappell Brothers, who made the dog food Chappie. In 1956, the company changed its name to Pet Foods. By the late 1950s, the company's brand had been joined by Pedigree and Whiskas, known to about everyone today. In the late 1960s, they were available almost worldwide, from Europe to Africa. Rumor has it that Mr. Mars examined the taste of these foods, too. Forrest believed that only an authentically tasty product could win over the customer, so he checked both candy and pet food. He would routinely taste his products, including Pedigree and Whiskas. This approach wasn't what struck people most about his management. Mars was a reticent man who avoided publicity. He didn't give interviews or presentations of new products and ran his affairs in strict secrecy. There are accounts of an author who was writing a book about the leaders of the confectionery industry, so she called the office of Mars to ask who was running the company. In response, she was told that the information wasn't for public use. Secrecy is still encouraged in the Mars Company. Americans like to joke about the headquarters of the company being in McLean, the same city where one of the CIA headquarters is located. Data hidden from the general public is, however, available for employees and executives. The financial performance and results of the factories are displayed on special screens within divisions of the company to motivate employees. It's known that Mars was unforgiving of manufacturing defects. A story is often told about Mars buying a pack of M&Ms and seeing the famous letters M printed on the side of the chocolates instead of the center. Shocked, he called the management to his office, and the defective candy was immediately recalled. What happened to the quality control specialist responsible for the oversight is anyone's guess. There are other legends about the life of Forrest Mars. In 1980, he founded a company named Ethel M, not far from Las Vegas, that made liqueur-filled chocolates. Allegedly, he decided to control his workers himself, so he hid in the attic and saw to it that nobody would treat themselves on the job. In 1964, Forrest took over the Mars family business, merging it with his other companies. This is how one of the biggest companies in the world was made, something Forrest Mars had dreamed about since childhood. Mars got down to building a strong corporate culture of the merged company. Instead of separating senior and junior staff, a sort of equality was established. The company's offices didn't have any walls or separate rooms. All people worked together. There weren't any company cars, and the key executives did not enjoy any preferences. These rules applied to the sons of Mars, too. Forrest's employees were paid handsomely, and if they showed a good performance, never left their workplace, and met the requirement standards, they received a bonus. This Mars policy persists to this day. Exemplary performance is rewarded with 10 to 100% of the employee's salary, depending on the rank and achievements. In 1968, Twix was launched. The bar was originally known as Raider and only sold in Europe. It wasn't until 1979 that it got its name Twix, by which it's known in the US market. Twix used to be advertised as a candy for couples, hence the two sticks. Forrest is said to have come up with the idea himself. In 1973, Forrest Mars decided to retire and handed the business over to his children, Forrest Jr., John, and Jacqueline. At the same time, Forrest Sr. kept on supervising the work of the company, participating in creating new products and their promotion, and also made his heirs swear not to sell any part of the company while he was alive. Before long, Mars became the leading manufacturer of candy, but the company was still facing competition from Hershey's, who among other things produces Kit Kat. Mars kept on stepping up its game. The company was known for their creative advertising campaigns, and in 1981, there was a particularly memorable stunt. M&Ms were sent into space on a NASA shuttle. In 1984, M&Ms became the official candy of the Olympics, which cost the company $5 million. That year, TV viewers could see multiple commercials with famous athletes getting help from M&Ms. At the beginning of the 21st century, Mars had factories and offices in 60 countries, and its products were sold almost all over the globe. In 2004, Forrest Mars's heirs officially retired. Forrest Jr. was replaced as CEO by Paul S. Michaels, who had been with Mars since 1988. Michaels was the first CEO who wasn't a Mars, so he drew a lot of attention. Many believe that the new leader would make Mars more open to the world, but he had his own plans. Under Michaels, the company made a number of acquisitions in the mid-2000s that strengthened its position in the markets. In 2008, Mars made one of its biggest deals. The company acquired the Wrigley Chewing Gum Company for $23 billion. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway helped finance the transaction. Some say that what made the deal possible was the fact that both companies were family-run, although at the time it wasn't quite the case. Paul Michaels produced Mars to social media. The brand created accounts on MySpace and Facebook to promote and sell its products. But at the same time, the company came under attacks. In 2009, it turned out that Mars and Snickers bars in the UK became 7 grams lighter, but were sold for the same price. Mars representatives made a statement saying the company was looking to protect customers, as excessive consumption of chocolate leads to weight gain. Later, however, they were forced to admit it was a way of cutting costs. It's also true that the company has been fighting against obesity, especially in children. In 2008, Mars launched a line of low-calorie snacks for vending machines called Generation Max. In 2014, Paul Michaels announced he was going to step down as president of Mars the following year. He was succeeded by Grant F. Reed, who had worked in different offices of the brand and spent a year learning leadership from Michaels. Victoria Mars, a daughter of Forrest Jr., took over as chairman of the company. Mars is currently one of the largest companies in the world and the third largest in the United States. Its turnover has reached $33 billion. The corporation is included in the top 100 best places to work, according to Fortune. At the same time, Mars remains a family company and keeps the legacy of Forrest Mars alive, while his heirs are included in the list of the richest people in the world.